Have you ever imagined stepping into a world untouched by cities, roads, or modern comforts? Picture a vast expanse where the horizon is a tapestry of forests, savannas, and rivers, stretching endlessly under a sky that knows no pollution, no artificial lights. This was the home of our earliest ancestors, millions of years ago, where every sunrise carried the whisper of both opportunity and danger. Life was raw, immediate, and uncompromising, and the survival of a single family often depended on instincts honed over generations. In this ancient world, human ancestors were small players in a grand theater dominated by predators, from stealthy cats crouching in tall grass to massive reptiles lurking near riverbanks. Each day brought uncertainty. The faint rustle of leaves could signal the approach of a lioness, while the distant roar of a predator might send a cluster of early hominins scrambling for cover. Amid this constant tension, the most vulnerable, the infants and toddlers, were entirely dependent on the ingenuity and vigilance of their caregivers. Every moment became a delicate balancing act between exploration and caution. Yet this world was not only perilous. It was alive with wonder. Rivers teemed with fish, forests echoed with the calls of birds, and vast plains were dotted with herds of grazing animals, each movement offering lessons in observation and survival. Early humans had to develop an intimate understanding of their surroundings, learning to read the subtle signs of danger and opportunity alike. Their senses, sight, sound, smell, were finely tuned instruments, guiding decisions that could mean life or death. Imagine a mother moving silently through the brush, her infant clutched against her chest, while her eyes scanned for any hint of threat. Nearby, a father or older sibling may be preparing a rudimentary tool or alerting the group with a sharp cry, a simple yet effective language of survival. These early interactions were more than just instinct. They were the foundations of strategies that would define human ingenuity for millennia. The care, attention, and protection devoted to the young were the seeds of a sophisticated social intelligence that future generations would inherit. Pause for a moment and reflect. Every step, every glance, every decision in this ancient world had consequences that extended far beyond the immediate. Life was a constant negotiation with nature, with predators, and with time itself. But from these challenges arose something extraordinary, the first glimpses of what would become uniquely human resilience, creativity, and cooperation. The strategies our ancestors devised to protect their offspring were not just about survival, they were early lessons in empathy, foresight, and social cohesion. If this glimpse into the distant past fascinates you, take a moment to imagine the courage it took to navigate such a world. And if you're curious about how these early humans actually kept their children safe amid such peril, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. The journey has only just begun, and the secrets of early human survival are waiting to be uncovered. Step into a world where every shadow could conceal a threat, and every rustle in the grass might signal danger. Millions of years ago, human ancestors did not face the luxury of ignoring the environment. They were part of it, constantly negotiating their place among creatures far larger, faster, and stronger. The landscape was alive, not just with trees and rivers, but with predators that prowled relentlessly, shaping the daily choices of our ancestors. Lions, saber-toothed cats, hyenas, and packs of cunning canids roamed the plains and forests. These were not distant threats. They were immediate, perceptible, and deadly. One misstep could spell the end, especially for the young and vulnerable. Rivers teemed with crocodiles, while enormous birds of prey silently circled overhead, their talons ready to snatch the unwary. The sheer diversity of threats demanded that early humans develop an acute awareness of their surroundings, an almost sixth sense that combined instinct, observation, and learned experience. Yet danger was not only external. Harsh weather, scarce food sources, and rugged terrain added layers of complexity to survival. Floods could sweep away entire shelters, fires could devastate habitats, and sudden temperature drops could test the limits of endurance. In this precarious balance, predators were merely one facet of the challenges our ancestors faced. Each day required vigilance, strategy, and an intimate understanding of both the terrain and the creatures that inhabited it. Infants, being completely defenseless, were the most at risk. They could not outrun predators, climb to safety, or even vocalize in ways that could protect them effectively. Survival for these youngest members relied entirely on adult ingenuity and social cooperation. Mothers and fathers had to remain constantly alert, ready to react in a fraction of a second. Early hominins developed strategies that might seem simple to us now, hiding infants in dense foliage, moving quietly through dangerous zones, or using tools to create barriers. But in that world, these tactics were matters of life and death. The dangers of the landscape also fostered learning. Every encounter, every close call, was a lesson for the group. Observing the behavior of predators, recognizing subtle cues, and anticipating threats became embedded in the knowledge passed down through generations. It was a high-stakes classroom where survival depended not just on strength, but on observation, intelligence, and communal vigilance. Walking through this world in your imagination, one begins to grasp the extraordinary resilience of our ancestors. They thrived not by avoiding danger entirely, but by understanding it, respecting it, and crafting strategies to navigate it with skill and foresight. These lessons in survival laid the foundation for social complexity, cooperation, and ingenuity that would define humans for millennia to come. Imagine a small cluster of early humans huddled together at the edge of a vast savanna, the sun sinking low behind distant hills, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch across the land like invisible predators themselves. Life millions of years ago was a delicate negotiation with nature, and for our ancestors, strength alone was rarely enough. Survival depended on the bonds that held them together, the silent agreements and instinctive cooperation that defined early social structures. Humans, even in their earliest forms, were social beings. Families and small groups formed the core of their existence, not merely for companionship, but as a strategic response to an unforgiving environment. Within these groups, individuals shared responsibilities. Some foraged for food, others stood watch, and all contributed to the protection and care of the young. In essence, survival became a collective endeavor, a choreography of coordination and vigilance honed over generations. These early groups also had to navigate internal hierarchies and the complex dynamics of trust. Who could be relied upon to respond in an emergency? Who had the knowledge to guide others through dangerous terrain? Leaders often emerged naturally, individuals whose experience or intuition proved invaluable during life-or-death situations. But even beyond hierarchy, the implicit understanding that every member's survival mattered nurtured a culture of mutual protection, especially toward the most vulnerable, infants and children. The power of numbers became evident when facing predators. A lone individual was exposed, vulnerable to attack, whereas a coordinated group could intimidate, distract, or even drive away predators with noise, movement, and strategy. Small children, though physically defenseless, were shielded by adults forming protective circles, carrying them on backs, or concealing them in dense foliage. The success of these measures depended on trust, communication, and awareness, the foundations of social cohesion that would define human evolution. This social intelligence extended beyond immediate survival. The sharing of resources, collective problem-solving, and cooperative planning laid the groundwork for learning and teaching. Children observed the interactions of adults, absorbing lessons in caution, observation, and empathy. The very act of protecting the young reinforced bonds within the group, creating a feedback loop where cooperation strengthened survival and survival reinforced cooperation. Picture a nightfall scenario. A small band of hominins circled around a fire, the flickering flames illuminating vigilant faces, every sound analyzed for signs of danger. It was a world where every member played a critical role, and the safety of the youngest depended on collective effort. In understanding the value of social structures, we see the genesis of something profoundly human, the instinct to protect one another, a trait that would shape cultures, communities, and civilizations for millions of years to come. In a world teeming with predators and uncertainties, early humans faced a profound challenge, keeping their most precious members, infants and toddlers, alive. Survival depended not only on instinct but on innovation. Imagine a mother gently cradling her baby while moving through dense forests. Every step measured, every rustle of leaves analyzed. This was early parenting, a blend of care, vigilance, and cunning strategies designed to protect the young in a hostile environment. One of the most fundamental techniques was constant physical proximity. Mothers and caregivers carried infants close to their bodies, using their own warmth and mobility as shields against danger. This simple yet effective method allowed caregivers to move swiftly, avoiding predators and environmental hazards. But proximity was only the beginning. Early humans learned to use natural cover, dense vegetation, rocky outcrops, and trees to hide their offspring. The landscape itself became a tool in their protective repertoire. Feeding practices also reflected sophisticated problem-solving. Infants were nourished in ways that reduced the need to expose them to danger. By timing movements around the availability of resources and predator activity, caregivers minimized risk while ensuring growth and development. Beyond nourishment, there was a conscious effort to foster awareness. Youngsters observed patterns of predator behavior, learned the sounds of threat, and became familiar with the signs of danger, all through guided exposure orchestrated by attentive adults. Early humans also used social networks to safeguard the young. Extended families or small groups shared the responsibility of childcare, creating rotating vigilance systems where some adults would forage while others maintained watch. This cooperative approach magnified the protective capacity of the group, allowing infants to experience exploration under a managed and relatively safe environment. In this way, even in infancy, human children were integrated into the larger fabric of survival strategy. Moreover, early parenting reflected foresight. Caregivers anticipated threats, prepared hiding spots, and taught rudimentary defensive skills, ensuring that children were not merely passive recipients of protection but participants in a learning process. This combination of vigilance, environmental awareness, and shared responsibility laid the foundations of human ingenuity, teaching lessons in both survival and empathy that would echo through generations. Think about it. Every decision, every movement, was about giving the next generation a chance. These early practices were more than instinct. They were the first conscious strategies to ensure survival. If this glimpse into ancient childcare intrigues you, leave a comment sharing your thoughts. How do you imagine these early humans felt while protecting their tiny, vulnerable offspring amidst constant danger? In the ancient wilderness, survival often depended on more than speed, strength, or vigilance. It required ingenuity. Early humans were not the apex predators in a literal sense. Lions, hyenas, and saber-toothed cats dominated the landscape. But they were clever, inventive, and willing to harness the environment itself as an ally. One of the most profound ways they did this was through the use of tools and weapons, transforming raw materials into instruments of protection. Sticks, stones, and sharpened bones were more than objects. They were extensions of the body, amplifying the reach and power of the wielder. Imagine a father hurling a carefully selected rock to distract a prowling predator, or a mother brandishing a sharpened stick to defend her child. These actions were not random. They required observation, understanding, and precise timing. The use of tools was an early form of tactical thinking, a bridge between instinctual survival and deliberate strategy. But tools were not only for immediate defense, they also shaped environments. Creating barriers with branches, digging pits, or arranging thorny plants around sleeping areas could deter predators long before they approached. Early humans understood the value of foresight. Each tool, each arrangement, was a calculated measure designed to protect life in a world that offered no guarantees. Weapons also played a crucial role in communal survival. Small groups could coordinate using noise, movement, and tools to intimidate predators or defend vulnerable members. A shared arsenal meant shared responsibility, and even the smallest participant had a role to play. Children, for example, could mimic protective movements or alert adults to unseen dangers. This integration of learning and defense reinforced social cohesion, making the group more resilient against threats. The evolution of tool use reflects a broader truth. Human ingenuity arose from necessity. Tools were not simply objects, they were symbols of adaptability, of the mind's ability to anticipate and manipulate the environment to safeguard life. Every stick sharpened, every stone thrown, and every defensive structure created was a testament to the determination to survive. In this way, early humans were not passive prey. They were inventors, strategists, and guardians. Their tools were instruments of protection, and their ingenuity ensured that the youngest, weakest, and most vulnerable could continue to thrive. These early innovations laid the foundation for centuries of human creativity, where survival and imagination became inseparable companions. Imagine a dense forest or open savanna where every rustle, shadow, or distant roar could signal imminent danger. In such a world, early humans learned that survival often depended not on strength alone, but on the ability to communicate. From subtle gestures to loud calls, communication became an essential tool for protecting themselves and, most importantly, their offspring. Warning systems were instinctive, yet sophisticated. A sudden cry, a sharp clap of hands, or even rhythmic drumming on natural surfaces could alert the group to predators approaching from unseen directions. These signals needed to be immediate and universally understood, transcending individual differences in strength or skill. A single alert could mobilize the group, directing attention to the threat and enabling coordinated defensive actions. Gestures and postures also played a critical role. Raised arms, pointing fingers, and body positioning conveyed warnings, guidance, or instructions without drawing unnecessary attention from predators. These nonverbal cues allowed caregivers to coordinate protective measures discreetly, keeping children safe while the adults prepared to confront danger. In many ways, early humans were pioneers of nonverbal strategy, understanding that the right signal at the right moment could mean the difference between life and death. Communication extended beyond immediate defense. Through repeated signals and observation, children learned to recognize danger themselves. Infants and toddlers absorbed patterns, the tone of a warning, the urgency of a gesture, the cues embedded in environmental sounds. This early training was subtle but vital, embedding lessons in survival long before language had fully evolved. Even fire played a communicative role. The glow of a controlled flame, smoke signals from a distance, or the simple warmth of a fire could indicate safety, boundaries, and communal presence. Early humans turned the environment into a medium for messages, blending instinct, observation, and creativity to ensure group cohesion. In essence, communication was not just a social tool, it was a lifeline, Every signal, call, or gesture reinforced cooperation, vigilance, and protection. It transformed a scattered collection of individuals into a coordinated unit, capable of responding swiftly to threats, guiding their young, and surviving in landscapes that were otherwise perilous and unpredictable. Picture the endless sweep of plains, dense forests, and winding rivers that made up the world of early humans. Survival demanded movement, constant, deliberate, and strategic. Early humans were not tied to a single location. Their nomadic patterns were a sophisticated response to a world teeming with danger and opportunity, and at the heart of this mobility was a singular goal: keeping their young safe. Traveling in small, cohesive groups allowed early humans to anticipate and avoid predators while maximizing access to food and water. Each route was chosen with care, balancing the need for resources against the risk of encountering dangerous animals. Hills offered vantage points, rivers provided hydration, and forests gave cover. These decisions were far from random. They reflected deep observation, knowledge passed through generations, and a subtle understanding of patterns in nature. Safe havens, hidden clearings, rocky overhangs, and dense thickets became sanctuaries for children and infants. While adults ventured out to gather food or scout the surroundings, these carefully chosen refuges offered protection from predators. The placement of these havens demonstrates early humans' ability to manipulate their environment, creating microenvironments where the most vulnerable could rest, learn, and grow. Nomadic life also reinforced social cohesion. By moving together, sharing resources, and guarding each other, groups could respond collectively to threats. This constant mobility fostered skills of observation, problem-solving, and coordination. Children learned to adapt, recognizing safe paths, reading environmental cues, and understanding when to follow or hide. Every movement through the landscape was a lesson in survival, instilling resilience from an early age. Imagine walking silently with your group at dusk, the horizon painted with streaks of orange and red. Adults scan the terrain for predators, while children, nestled in protective arms or hidden in thickets, learn the rhythms of a world that is both beautiful and unforgiving. This delicate balance between exploration and protection reflects the genius of our ancestors, a life constantly in motion, yet carefully attuned to the safety of the next generation. If this glimpse into the strategies of early nomadic life fascinates you, share your thoughts in the comments. How do you think moving constantly shaped the way human ancestors perceived the world and protected their young? In the midst of a perilous world, survival was not instinct alone. It was education, observation, and imitation. From the earliest moments of life, children of human ancestors were immersed in a living classroom. Every day offered lessons in awareness, resourcefulness, and the unspoken rules of a dangerous environment. Here, survival skills were not optional. They were essential. Young humans learned by watching the adults around them. A mother carefully selecting edible roots, or a father mimicking the movements of predators, became guides in a silent curriculum of life and death. Every gesture carried meaning. Every demonstration was a blueprint for safety. Children internalized patterns: where to hide, how to respond to threats, which sounds to heed, and which paths were safe to follow. In this way, learning was both deliberate and experiential, blending intuition with mentorship. Play and practice were also vital components of survival education. Toddlers imitated tool use, tested coordination, and engaged in mock defenses that honed skills without exposing them to real danger. These seemingly simple activities were crucial, laying the foundations for physical agility, strategic thinking, and social awareness. Even curiosity was a teacher, as exploration was always guided under the watchful eyes of experienced adults. Storytelling, gesture, and vocalizations became early methods to convey knowledge beyond immediate experience. Through repeated observation and imitation, children could internalize strategies for avoiding predators, locating food, and navigating complex terrains. This knowledge transfer was iterative and cumulative, building on the experiences of multiple generations and embedding wisdom into the social fabric. Importantly, the act of teaching reinforced social bonds. Adults invested time and energy in guiding the young, creating cycles of care, trust, and interdependence. This dual focus on protection and instruction allowed children to survive and eventually thrive, equipped with the instincts, skills, and insights necessary to navigate their world. In essence, learning and teaching were inseparable from survival. Every moment of observation, every act of imitation, and every playful practice session contributed to the resilience of the group. In understanding these early educational strategies, we see how human intelligence and social cooperation were nurtured, creating the foundation for generations of ingenuity and adaptability. Imagine the vast landscapes of millions of years ago, where life hung in delicate balance. In such a world, the ability to protect and nurture the young was not merely a compassionate instinct, it was an evolutionary imperative. Early humans who invested in the safety, care, and education of their offspring gained a profound advantage. Their genes and knowledge could be passed on, securing the survival of the species. Childcare strategies extended beyond mere protection. By keeping infants safe, early humans allowed the next generation to grow stronger, healthier, and more capable of navigating the perils of their environment. Those who survived infancy had a better chance of learning essential survival skills, contributing to the group's collective intelligence and eventually reproducing themselves. In this way, the investment in children was an investment in the long-term resilience of the species. Cooperative care amplified these advantages. Groups that shared responsibilities for feeding, guarding, and teaching children saw higher survival rates. The interdependence between adults created a social safety net that enhanced overall group survival. By distributing risk and combining knowledge, early humans ensured that even if one adult was absent or incapacitated, others could maintain protection and guidance for the young. This system of shared responsibility became a key driver of human evolutionary success. The evolutionary impact of these strategies was profound. Infants who survived under attentive care became adults capable of reproducing, innovating, and passing on the accumulated knowledge of generations. This cycle of protection and learning reinforced social cohesion, promoted problem-solving, and favored individuals who could navigate both the environment and complex social interactions. Over time, these traits became defining characteristics of humanity: empathy, cooperation, foresight, and intelligence. The ripple effects extended to culture and cognition. By emphasizing protection and teaching, early humans created conditions for learning, memory, and planning, skills that allowed groups to adapt to changing environments, develop new tools, and anticipate threats. Childcare was not simply a survival mechanism, it was the engine of human ingenuity. Through these strategies, we begin to see why humans, unlike many other species, thrived despite constant danger. The care given to the youngest members was a blueprint for success, a template that intertwined survival, social cohesion, and intelligence. These evolutionary advantages remind us that human resilience is deeply rooted in cooperation, foresight, and the unyielding commitment to the next generation. As the sun sets over the ancient landscapes, painting the skies with hues of gold and crimson, it's impossible not to marvel at the ingenuity of our ancestors. Life, millions of years ago, was a delicate dance with danger, where each day demanded vigilance, intelligence, and a profound understanding of the world. Our early human predecessors faced predators, unpredictable climates, and countless challenges, yet they not only survived, they thrived, shaping strategies that would echo through generations. Consider the sheer brilliance of their adaptations. From crafting rudimentary tools and weapons to developing warning systems, from forming cohesive social groups to teaching the young critical survival skills, these early humans demonstrated a combination of foresight and creativity that was unparalleled. Every choice they made, every action they took, was a testament to problem-solving under pressure. Even the seemingly simple acts of carrying infants, hiding them in protective havens, or moving strategically across landscapes were feats of innovation, blending instinct with calculated decision-making. Their legacy extends far beyond survival. The cooperative structures, lessons in vigilance, and childcare strategies laid the foundation for human empathy, culture, and intelligence. By safeguarding their young, they ensured the continuation of knowledge, skills, and social cohesion, gifts that would shape human evolution and allow successive generations to flourish in increasingly complex environments. In a sense, every life they protected was a seed of human ingenuity, carrying forward not just genes but the wisdom of experience. Reflecting on their resilience invites us to rethink what it means to be human. Our capacity to cooperate, innovate, and teach may seem ordinary now, but it is built upon millions of years of adaptation, creativity, and care. Each strategy developed by early humans was an intricate response to a harsh and unpredictable world, demonstrating that survival is rarely about individual strength alone. It is about intelligence, cooperation, and the ability to foresee and protect the future. As we study these distant ancestors, we gain more than historical insight. We gain perspective. We are reminded that human ingenuity is born not only from curiosity or ambition, but from necessity, empathy, and the unwavering desire to preserve life. Their accomplishments, though often hidden in the shadows of time, remain a testament to resilience, creativity, and foresight. If this journey through the past has sparked your imagination, take a moment to reflect on the lessons it offers. Think about how human cooperation, innovation, and care for one another have shaped our species. Share your thoughts and insights. What strikes you most about the ways our ancestors ensured the survival of their young? Their story is not just a chapter in history. It is the foundation upon which all of humanity continues to build.